I was slicing peaches when my father's voice cracked the summer air of our Dallas ranch house. "You don't belong in this family," he snapped, cheeks flushed, eyes fixed on the envelope. He tore it down the middle, my hard-won offer, paper halves drifting to the tile. I braced against the island, refusing tears. Crying would crown him victor. My brother Evan smirked. "They felt sorry for you," he murmured. My mother scrubbed a spotless plate, the rhythm a lie that said she heard nothing. My younger sister Becca tapped at her phone, eyes anywhere but me. That morning the HR director had sounded odd. "We've never seen anyone ace every round with this much composure. Welcome aboard, Mara." That was my name. Not spare, not mistake, Mara Ellison. I'd put myself through UT Austin, double shifts, missed rent, summa honors, only to be called a part-time nothing in this house. For months I'd temped, then landed a six-figure strategy role. Now its pieces glittered like seashells around my shoes. "You think you're better than Evan?" my father sneered. "He knows his place. We didn't raise you for corporate nonsense." I didn't beg. I looked to the doorway where my husband, Jonah, stood in a navy suit beside a man whose calm reset the oxygen of the room. Jonah's palm steadied my back. "I'm Adrian Holt," the man said. "Founder of Holt and Marlowe. Mara, your work set a new bar. That letter was only the beginning." The kitchen hushed. The faucet stopped pretending to run. "Will you lead our Chicago expansion?" Adrian asked. My father's mouth snapped shut. Evan's smirk slid. Becca's phone clattered. "Yes," I said, breathing. "Yes." I arrived in Chicago before dawn, the lake a bruised sheet of steel outside the rideshare window. In my tote, I carried a single skillet and the contract that somehow still felt fragile. The furnished sublet smelled faintly of cedar and someone else's shampoo. I opened every window, set the skillet on the stove like a flag, and began the inventory of a life I would build from scratch. By 8, I was at the 32nd floor, badge printed, nerves tucked into a blazer. Holt and Marlowe's office arced over the river, all glass and hush. A conference room waited with a whiteboard full of arrows and questions, and a team who did not yet know whether to trust me. "I'm Mara," I began. "We're building the expansion on time and without burning out our people. Non-negotiable." A few eyebrows lifted. Adrian nodded once and slipped to the back. The first fire surfaced by lunch, a vendor's data feed misaligned by a full day making our forecasts useless. "We can brute force corrections," someone offered. That was code for sleeplessness and resentment. I wrote a rectangle on the whiteboard, labeled it gaps, and broke down the failure until it turned into pieces small enough to hand around. I paired the newest analyst with the prickliest engineer and gave them a shared win they could own. At dusk, we gathered around the window. Boats threaded the river like needles. Adrian tapped the glass with his ring and said, "That was leadership." Walking home, I stopped at a grocer for peaches. I wasn't returning to the kitchen I knew, but I would not surrender the sweetness I chose. I called Jonah, told him I was safe, and finally exhaled. 2 weeks later, I walked into the client's boardroom with a steady pulse. A dozen directors waited, flanked by renderings of a future they didn't trust yet. Adrian sat at the edge, silent as a lighthouse. I faced the table. "My name is Mara Ellison," I said. "You don't need a miracle. You need predictability you can see." I flipped to a dashboard we rebuilt, not by punishing hours, but by clean handoffs and clear guardrails. Questions came like hail. I answered with numbers, then stories of people behind them. The analyst who mapped failure cases, the engineer who automated checks, the ops lead who protected weekends. A director folded her arms. "Why should we believe you?" "Because I've been told to know my place," I said. "I chose it. I laid out milestones, risks, and how we'd surface trouble early enough to fix without heroics." Silence pooled. Then pens moved. The vote passed. Outside, the river flashed brighter. Adrian shook my hand. "Build it your way." That night, I walked the Clark Street Bridge with peaches and Jonah on my earbuds. "When can I join you?" he asked. "Soon," I said. "But not to rescue me, to share the view." At home, I heated the skillet, sweetened butter, slid in fruit. The kitchen filled with summer air that didn't belong to the house I left. It belonged to me.